Here we have another gem from Al Jazeera Plus and our old friend Francesca Fiorentini. Today we're going to talk about the hardships endured by the poor migrant workers of Arizona. However, these are not migrant workers, these are illegal immigrants. Francesca and her friends in Qatar believe these people should get special treatment. With that said, let's get to it.
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona on a mission. Eat good Mexican food, discover new cacti, and find out if immigrants are stealing American jobs.
Francesca starts right out with a belly laugh. I bet she spent more time eating that food and touching a cactus than she did finding out if immigrants were stealing American jobs.
If we're to believe this guy, they are.
Of course, the obligatory Al Jazeera Plus jab at Donald Trump. It's as if he was the only person, the only politician, to ever worry about illegal immigrants stealing American jobs. Yes, the first.
But what do people here think? Do you think that immigrants are stealing American jobs?
Yes.
No, I don't. No, I think we need the immigrants. We need their help here.
So how do you know an undocumented immigrant's not going to steal your job? Maybe steal your bike, steal your honey?
Not worried about it.
Okay, Francesca, a 3-point survey. Obviously very, very reproducible results. I wouldn't think for a second that if you asked a large portion of Arizonans, they would react exactly the same.
I guess they can't agree, but their politicians can. Arizona has some of the strictest immigration laws in the country.
Here's a different article regarding the news piece that Francesca's headline showed. U.S. Court of Appeals won't reconsider ruling on Arapaho's workplace raids. And Arapaho refers to Sheriff Joe Arapaho, also known around the country as just Sheriff Joe, who you see pictured right here. To follow through, there was a request for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to reconsider a previous ruling that blocked Sheriff Joe's controversial workplace raids, and the judges upheld a previous reversal that kept the raids legal. According to the Ninth Circuit, these bills were passed, at least in some part, in an effort to solve some of Arizona's problems stemming from illegal immigration. But these bills were also aimed at curbing the growing and well-documented problem of identity theft in Arizona. What was happening is workers were gaining employment through the use of illegal documents, most often Social Security numbers stolen from actual people. They would pass a cursory document check and they were able to work. Unfortunately, workers without legal status in the U.S., as I have just stated, sometimes use stolen or forged identification documents in order to gain employment. In order to fight this, Arizona passed the 2007 Legal Arizona Workers Act, which made committing identity theft for the purpose of gaining employment in Arizona a felony. Sheriff Joe used this act as legal justification to raid businesses looking for illegal aliens who had used illegal documents to gain employment. As a counterpoint, there is an organization named Quente Arizona, and it has referred to these laws as cruel, unjust, and degrading. How making it illegal to gain employment through the use of stolen identification and then being caught for it is cruel, unjust, and degrading, I would like someone to explain to me.
To understand the immigrant labor economy better, I met up with Masabi Perea.
Okay, so we are gonna go to 2 Home Depots that are in this area.
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Buscan trabajo? ¿Trabajo?
Sí, nos dejan trabajar, sí.
He's an organizer who heads up a local workers center who introduced me to some workers. ¿Y por qué viniste aquí a Phoenix, a los Estados Unidos?
Porque por la situación en México es muy dura. Como todos sabemos, todos siempre vamos por el sueño americano.
Sure, the American dream. Millions of people want to have the American dream, and they can by coming here legally. There are immigration policies that need to be followed. I know several people who are from China who have followed the immigration laws, and they are now well-producing, happy citizens of the United States. If you can't follow the rules, you don't belong here.
But it hasn't always been the dream imagined. Ernesto and Danielle have been living and working in the U.S. for over a decade, and both are undocumented.
No venimos a robar ningún tipo de trabajo, sino venimos a trabajar con el...
But that's the thing. If you're working here, you're stealing jobs. There aren't jobs that were created and set aside for illegal workers and jobs that are set aside just for legal workers. They're all for legal workers. So you can't have it both ways.
Pues una jornada de un trabajador, de un varillero, es empezar, como ahorita que está el tiempo de calor, tratamos de estar muy temprano, 5 de la mañana, a lo mejor hasta más temprano, ganándole al sol.
When do we take a break?
Look at Francesca, her t-shirt, no hat, no gloves, tennis shoes. Oh yeah, she showed up ready to work. I bet she took that in one take, threw the shovel down, and walked away. I'll double bet you.
In recent years, things have gotten even harder for these workers thanks to two laws in particular, the so-called Show Me Your Papers law and one that requires employers to check a worker's legal status. E-Verify, SB 1070, ¿cómo cambió el ámbito de trabajo y cómo afectó a sus comunidades?
Fue algo muy duro, muy difícil. Está uno con temor en sus casas sin poder salir y pensando que cualquier rato pues te pueden deportar. Era un momento muy difícil.
I cannot imagine living in fear. Pain, yes. Fear, no. It must have been terrible for these guys, and I feel for them, I truly do. But they set themselves up. They brought it upon themselves. I can't feel sorry for them because of that. I just can't.
Between 2009 and 2012, the number of undocumented workers in Arizona fell by 40%, which caused the GDP on average to drop by 2% every year.
Oh my, how we can make statistics lie. Yes, the number of undocumented workers fell, partly because there were fewer jobs, partly because there were fewer jobs. They weren't able to get the kind of work their predecessors had found because the place was all full up. And as far as the GDP going down, I doubt that was really the fault of immigrants not finding work. I think it had more to do with the fact that there was a recession going on, Francesca. Remember that little thing when the housing market collapsed and everybody was out of work and no one was producing anything? Maybe that's why the GDP fell. Maybe.
Some people say that's okay. The pie might have gotten smaller, but so-called real Americans got a bigger slice of it.
So-called real Americans. I said this in the last video, but it bears repeating. Fuck you, Francesca. Real Americans are Americans with citizenship. Doesn't matter where we were born, doesn't matter where we are now. What matters is that we are citizens. That makes us real Americans. If you're not a citizen, you're a real Japanese, you're a real German, you're a real Ugandan, whatever.
But it also affected employers, like egg farm owner Glenn Hickman, who says he lost legal employees because they had undocumented family members.
The whole family went to some state that they felt was more tolerant of immigrants.
And they have every right to move to another state, hoping that that new state won't catch their undocumented family members. Sure, you lost some workers, but you've got more to hire, right? Arizona doesn't have a 100% employment rate, so surely you could find some new people, couldn't you?
SB 1070 hit this community in particularly really hard in a very negative way.
Roberto Reyes owns a landscaping company here in Phoenix. He says Arizona's immigration laws are out of touch with economic realities.
I got to see a lot of the houses we boarded up, houses that were abandoned, and I don't think all of them were abandoned because people couldn't afford them. There was a lot of houses we went to that, like stuff that was very important to them, they just left. In my mind, someone like probably got deported or they just had to leave really fast.
Maybe they had to leave really fast because someone got arrested and they were about to be deported. Maybe they had to leave really fast because they got a job someplace else and couldn't afford to pack all their stuff up. Whatever the reason, homes do get abandoned, and I don't think it's any legislation's fault that that happened. I think it's circumstances of the people involved.
And even though it's law, employers have skirted requirements to verify a worker's immigration status because now they can hire anyone as an independent contractor as a workaround.
So what it means is that he's not going to have right to overtime, to minimum wage, to training.
They're basically their own employers, and you're just getting them for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of work.
So they've legalized day laborers, which means migrants can come across the border, work, but then they've got to go back across the border. If they stay, they're illegal still. So now we're giving them an out, a way to earn a wage, but we're not giving them a way to stay in the country illegally. That's the whole point.
What would your company look like if you couldn't hire any immigrant workers?
I don't know if we would have a company, honestly.
Okay, but are we talking about immigrant workers or illegal workers? If they're immigrant workers, they're obeying the legislation that was just discussed, and they're leaving at night, or leaving in the morning if they have a night job, whatever. But if you're hiring illegal workers who are staying in the country illegally, then you're breaking the law, and you shouldn't have a company. You should be shut down and be put out of business for good.
Work is work, and not every job is fulfilling. Sometimes it's just hard and sweaty and dirty and those kind of things. So I think that we should have a policy in the United States that accommodates the need for those workers that can come here, work legally, and when the job is finished, they can leave.
I fail to see how work being dirty and sweaty has anything to do with people leaving and coming legally. Are you saying that Americans won't take these jobs? Are you saying that only illegals will stoop to this kind of labor? Well, maybe you're not paying enough. Maybe you're treating these people as just disposable units to push back and forth across your egg farm. Maybe it's the fact that you're the problem, not the job.
What's your response to Donald Trump's idea of building a wall to keep Mexican immigrants out of the U.S.?
There's things that call the rope, things called the ladders, and those things could be used to climb a wall really easily. The problem never going to get solved like that. It's just the reality.
This series isn't really border stories. It's Trump stories. Yes, there are things like ropes and ladders, and yes, they can be used to get around a border wall. But increased border security and better legislation in the U.S., like those in Arizona designed to keep illegal immigrants to a minimum, are working and should be strengthened.
The truth is, wall or no wall, papers or no papers, laws or no laws, the draw for immigrants to work in the U.S. remains. Because compared to places like Mexico, the U.S. is still the land of relative opportunity. And that's just how it is, for now.
And yet again, Francesca Fiorentini leaves us with nothing. No answers, no proposals, no possibilities. And that's just how it is, for now. Wow. Why do we even let you do these things? Why does Al Jazeera Plus even send you money? All they're trying to do is take a candidate in an election where neither candidate looks very good and make that one worse. I don't think we need their help.